Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shondell Newsom, a co-chair for Small Business for America's Future and owner of Some New Marketing in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'll be your moderator today. For a little housekeeping, this event is being recorded and will be disseminated to the press after the event. There will be time for questions at the end of our remarks for our participating small business owners. I will provide instructions on how to ask questions before we begin that portion of the program. We're here today because open enrollment for the ACA Health Insurance Marketplace begins on Saturday, and millions of small business owners are expecting jarring premium increases. Without immediate policy change, roughly 5 million small business owners who use the ACA tax credits could see their rates double. The ACA tax credits are at the center of a government shutdown where there has been no movement to resolve the issue. To discuss the policy debate in Congress and what can be done, we'll first hear from Representative Don Beyer of Virginia's 8th District, a member of the Joint Economic Committee and House Committee on Ways and Means. After his remarks, I will discuss our survey, and then small business owners from Pennsylvania and Missouri will share how this crisis is hitting their businesses and communities. Representative Beyer, welcome.
Shondell, thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. And thank you for everybody joining us on the call today. Shondell introduced me as a member of the Ways and Means Committee, and I did chair the Joint Economic Committee and hope to again one day, but now I'm the ranking Democrat on that committee. But more relevant for this conversation is I spent 46 years in the family business, which I owned and I ran with my little brother. We're just about 2 weeks ago celebrated the 52nd anniversary of the business. And I promise you, one of the most difficult things that we had to do year in and year out was deal with the cost of healthcare. It was back in the good old days, 50 years ago, we could pay for everything, every employee and everybody employee's family. It's become very, very difficult to do that. And conscientious business owners, we want our employees to be healthy. We don't like it when they're sick or they're disabled or they have shorter careers. And so, good bosses want good people. Our business is only as good as the quality of talent that we hire. And that means that an essential part of attracting good people is being able to pay as much of those premiums as we can. So the rising cost of healthcare, especially if these tax credits expire, is something that small businesses are really, really feeling. We see in the Washington Post that the average premium is going to go up 30% with the expiration of the healthcare subsidies. That's not something that we can handle. You don't have to take my word for it. The Small Business for America's Future had a survey, and they said that 72% of the small business owners say that Congress's priorities are not aligned with their needs. And it's hard to blame them when they see that these tax credits benefit they don't benefit working people or small businesses. That overwhelmingly is going to the richest among us. A fascinating statistic yesterday. In 2017, the 916 billionaires in America had $3 trillion worth of wealth. Today, they have $8 trillion worth of wealth. That's not going to the small businesses of America. And the big ugly bill that passed with no Democratic votes added $4.5 to $5 trillion to our budget deficit, almost all of that going to the richest people among us. And they're doing for it by cutting Medicaid, cutting Medicare, and literally not paying for the subsidies for healthcare. 81% of small business owners say rising healthcare costs putting them at a competitive disadvantage relative to the large corporations. And we've seen breakdowns like this other places. They've polled healthcare for individuals and found that overwhelming majority of Americans, including Republicans, are concerned that rising healthcare costs, and they want these Congress to extend these credits. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, whom I rarely agree with, is out there making lots of noise saying Congress needs to come back and do this. It's not a partisan issue. It didn't need to be something that created this long government shutdown. And it's really frustrating for me. I go to work on the Hill every day. My wonderful team is down there. It's an empty building. We're now at the end of the 5th week of the Republican House members refusing to come back and even talk about it. All around the district, people are saying, well, are you talking to your Republican colleagues? I say, they're not there. Speaker Johnson said that he wouldn't negotiate on healthcare or even discuss it right now. He calls it a December issue. Well, I've been around enough Decembers. I've been in, the days after Christmas, desperately trying to keep the government open. Things don't happen easily in December. You're not playing chicken with American healthcare plans. And what we're seeing also is that the small business owners that I talk to in Virginia, they're trying to put their budgets together, but they're afraid to plan to do hiring. They're not investing in new plant and equipment. They don't want to build a new building. They're being scary about inventory. And all those things, you can't put them off until it's too late. And the delay actually makes it worse for everybody. Look, if people can't afford to help higher premiums, I saw yesterday a poll that said 42% of Americans will just drop their health insurance if they have to pay these new premiums. What that means is that the sick people are going to be ones overwhelmed with health insurance, and it's going to push the cost up for every one of us, especially small businesses. Look, it doesn't have to be this way. They had lots of time over the summer to pass the healthcare legislation. We're begging them to come back and act on it right now. Because as we know, the job creators in the world are not, in our country, are not the big businesses or the medium-sized businesses. It's always the small businesses. And if these tax credits are not extended, small businesses are really, really going to be hurt. And it's a time when money's not going as far anyway because inflation is up so much. These tariffs, the highest they've been in 100 years since the beginning of the Great Depression, are affecting every small business owner I know. So my plea, Republicans, please come back to Washington, sit down with us, talk with us. This is a crisis facing the American public, a Republican healthcare crisis that you have created, and we're willing to work with you to solve it. And I'm so glad for the small business owners on this call, willing to talk about how it affects you, your business, and the people that you employ. And with that, as we say in the House, Shondell, I yield back.
Thank you very much, Representative Beyer, and thank you for your support of our nation's small businesses. The latest national survey of 620 small business owners fielded by Small Business for America's Future shows that the stakes in this debate are very clear for our nation's small business owners. 84% of small business owners are concerned about their ability to afford health care in 2026 if the credits expire. 87% want Congress to make them permanent. Small business owners say that the expiration of tax credits and soaring healthcare costs could trigger a cascade of economic impacts for small businesses, which are already under financial pressures on many fronts. More than half of business owners have already cut their compensation due to the combined economic pressure, ranging from rising healthcare costs to tariff fallout and inflation. 41% of those surveyed said they would be forced to increase prices to their customers. About 1 in 4 would freeze hiring or delay expansion plans for their businesses. 1 in 5 would reduce their workforce. More than a third of small business owners say the combined pressure of healthcare costs and other economic factors threaten their ability to stay in business. The healthcare cost crisis facing small businesses comes after Congress passed H.R. 1, an enormous tax package that helped the wealthy and large corporations, but failed to extend the ACA tax credits and cut nearly $1 trillion from Medicaid. Here's what really drives home the disconnect between small business needs and Congress actions. A recent analysis by the Center for American Progress shows ACA tax credits provided more relief of small businesses earning under $150,000 than the small business tax deduction that was included in H.R. 1. Yet, Congress failed to extend the ACA tax credits in that bill, but extended enormous tax breaks for the wealthiest corporations and individuals. Yet that's backwards, and it shows exactly whose interests are being prioritized in Washington right now. It's no wonder that 72% of small business owners surveyed said congressional priorities are misaligned with small business needs. And as the shutdown continues, they want Congress to make the tax credits permanent. Now, let's hear from small business owners who are joining us today. We have Small Business for America's co-chair, my friend and fellow co-chair, Walt Rowen, owner of Susquehanna Glass Company in Pennsylvania, and Small Business for America's Future Network member Carrie Van Maren, owner of amazing traditions in Kansas City, Missouri. Walt, please get us started.
Thanks a lot, Shondell. It's great to be with all of you, and thank you, Congressman Beyer. Shondell's just walked through the survey findings, and I can guarantee you I can check almost all of the categories that Shondell was talking about as far as the small business owners are concerned. I am very concerned about health insurance costs for my employees. I am very concerned about costs rising across many categories for small business folks. My business is unique in that we're a 4-generation, 115-year-old manufacturing glass decorating company in Pennsylvania, Southeast Pennsylvania. In the past, I have offered a healthcare insurance for my employees when we were a little bit bigger, and it worked out well for the company. But as health insurance costs went up and as our company got a little bit smaller, I had to move away from offering health insurance. But fortunately, the ACA had been passed, and I was able to help my employees move into very affordable health insurance programs for them, which also then helped me as a business, because now I have healthier employees that come to work. Unfortunately, with this new beautiful bill that was passed by the Republicans and the tax credits that went to all the corporate interests and not down to the small business folks, one of the things that's being cut is Medicaid and all the subsidies that go to create affordable health care through the ACA. I am very, very concerned that as these subsidies are reduced or go away completely, we are going to see a mass crisis for the people who are employed in the small businesses that make up 50% of America's population and most of the communities in America. This financial blow is going to hit my company because I've got many employees that have been with me for 20, 30 years, and some of them are older employees. And with the ACA tax subsidies, they were getting very good, affordable health insurance. I've already seen one of my employees receive their change in subsidies, and there's a 30% increase to that policy for that person. And that just is not affordable to any of us. We can fix this if we talk about it and come together, but we will never get a solution if the two sides, the Republicans and the Democrats, are just not talking. And that needs to stop today. I don't want to see Susquehanna Glass, after 115 years, fall apart because our Congress and our government is not able to come to a solution that will create affordable health care for the vast majority of small business employees and employers. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to Shondell to introduce another small business member, Carrie Van Meveren. I'm sorry, Carrie. Shondell?
Thank you very much, Walt. Carrie, you're up. Carrie Van Meveren.
Hi, thank you, Walt. I opened my business, I opened my government contracting business, Amazing Traditions, in Kansas City, Missouri, 11 years ago. I would not be here as a business owner today without the ACA tax credits. The ACA has made it possible for me to afford health insurance for myself, which means I could operate my own business rather than having to find a job that offers healthcare benefits. It's not a nice to have. It's been the difference between keeping my doors open and shutting them. I don't know exactly how much my premiums will increase yet, but I'm bracing for a jump of at least $675 a month. The idea of that makes me ill, and I know I'm not the only one lying awake at night worrying about the same question everybody else is. What happens next? As Shondell said, the survey shows that most small business owners are concerned about their ability to afford health care. And if Congress allows the credits to expire, the vast majority of Main Street America is lying awake at night worrying over the same question I'm asking myself: what happens next? So what am I going to do to prepare? Right now, I'm scheduling every medical appointment I can before the end of the year because I don't know if I'll be able to afford health insurance in 2026. Receiving care for medical issues I have is critical. If my premiums spike, I'm looking at the same terrible choices. Do I take on a second job? Maybe baking groceries, stocking shelves just to get insurance? That takes away time from my business. That'll hurt my bottom line. Or do I shut down my business that I've spent more than a decade building? These are not theoretical questions. This is my reality in 6 weeks. This is what happens when Congress does not prioritize the small businesses that actually drive the economy. The solution is very straightforward. Make the ACA tax credits permanent. I need Congress to show up for Main Street, end this shutdown, extend these tax credits, and then keep working to bring down the healthcare costs. Let small business owners focus on running their businesses instead of wondering if they'll have to choose between healthcare and keeping our doors open. Shondell, back to you.
Thank you very much, Carrie, and thank you again, Walt. Now I would like to open questions to the press. If you have questions for small business owners, you can raise your hand. If called in the Zoom, press *9 to ask a question. Please say your name and the outlet that you are with before asking questions.
Hello, this is Sean Kitchen with the Keystone in Pennsylvania, and I just have a couple of quick questions for Walt. How many employees do you have at the company, Susquehanna Glass Company? And I just want to also ask, are you also impacted by these cuts with Penny? Do you purchase your healthcare through Penny as well?
Thanks for the question. To answer the last part, I'm an old guy, so I'm on Medicare, and it's wonderful. But I'm still paying probably about $400 a month for my wife and I for a Plan D policy. But Medicare is absolutely phenomenal. And I've been on it for, I think, about 4 years. Right now, our company was about 5-6 years ago, we had a little bit over 100 employees, and we were carrying health insurance that we offered our employees. We paid about 50% of the premium, and the employees who chose to participate in the plan paid the rest. Most of us were paying probably about $300 to $400 10 years ago. That steadily was going up probably every year by 10, 15, 20%. When the ACA was first talked about, when Obama was in office, we saw a spike of almost 40% when the ACA was really coming close to being executed. Our payroll was still over 50 employees, which made under the ACA, companies required to cover health insurance for their employees, affordable health insurance for their employees. Once my business shrunk a little bit, and we then fell below 50, which is where we are today. So we have between 35 and 50 employees. We are very seasonally oriented. So Christmas, fourth quarter is very big for us. So we'll bring on 15 to 20 part-time seasonal people in the November and December periods, but then we'll shrink back down after January. So a few years ago, we were able to cancel our health insurance because we had been in what's called the mid-market, and we were getting good rates through the mid-market. But as we got smaller, we would have had to fall into the small market insurance. It's a complicated process. But at that point, every individual in our plan would have been individually priced. So older employees or people with pre-existing conditions were going to have a much higher rate than, say, a very young, healthy person. So that kind of small market business insurance plans just don't work. Thankfully, the ACA was in place. in Pennsylvania, we have what's called Penny, which is the marketplace in Pennsylvania. And what we did was we were able to then help all of our employees that needed health insurance go through the Penny system and apply for health insurance through Penny, which is the ACA. And most of them, based on their income and family levels, were able to qualify for subsidies that made the insurance premium affordable. Everybody is different because everybody's family size is different and their income levels are different, but almost everybody was getting some level of affordability through the subsidy system. That's what's at risk today. As I understand it, those subsidies are for most people completely going away. And at the same time, the insurance plans that are being offered through Penny, just like all insurance plans in companies and offered on the regular market, have been going up pretty substantially. We're looking at, I believe, something like about a 20% increase in insurance, health insurance rates on average. So if you take the subsidy and take that away, and let's say that was covering 30% of the premium, the monthly premium, and your insurance base cost goes up by 20%. And if you were paying somewhere in the $300 to $400 a month range, I have people that are looking at having health insurance now going up to be over $1,000. That is absolutely insane. In this country, when we have the wealth that we generate out of our economies, and when you look at the small business component of that wealth, the size of the small business component and the amount of people, the amount of Americans that are covered by small business health insurance, it is absolutely catastrophic. And it can't stay the way it is. And so when we have congressmen like Congressman Byers, who understands that, as small business folks, we're behind that 100%.
And then my last question is, has your congressman, I guess you're in Lancaster County, so Lloyd Smucker,
Yes.
has he said anything about anything with the increases that your employees are facing, and or your company, the hardship your company's facing with these cuts?
Congressman Schmucker is the Lancaster County congressman. I know Congressman Schmucker. He's a very thoughtful, smart guy. And yet I have never heard him say one thing about business health insurance. I have never heard him say one thing about the ACA other than that it should be repealed and replaced. And I have never heard any plan that in any way comes close to a replacement plan for what is, as we've just talked about, a catastrophic health insurance situation.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions.
If I can pile on to Walt's comments too, I serve with Congressman Smucker on the Ways and Means Committee and the Joint Economic Committee. And Lloyd's a good friend, but he's also a small business person. And I can't imagine that his business is not going to feel this just as hard, which is why please come back and let's work together and solve this.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think we do have maybe a few more minutes left, or maybe 1 minute left. Carrie, I know you had some comments about the increase in premiums.
Yes, thank you, Shondell. Yeah, I have a history of blood clots. I've had an embolism, a pulmonary embolism. I've also had a DVT in years past, so I'm well aware of the symptoms. And a few weeks ago, just in fact, I was having similar symptoms, and so I went to the ER to just check things out, make sure, because a blood clot to the heart is fatal. So I went to the ER to get checked out, did the CT scan, they did the blood work and did different tests. Fortunately, it turned out that it was not blood clots, but that bill alone, my insurance company was billed almost $31,000 just for that visit. And if that happens again and next year I don't have health insurance, I mean, it will bankrupt me, those kinds of bills. And I will lose my home of 21 years. and, you know, everything I've built over my adult life.
Well, thank you, everyone. I don't see any other questions. So I will say thank you, Walt, Carrie. Thank you, Representative Beyer. We are really thankful for everyone's comments, and thank you for everyone who's attended from the press. If you have any questions or want to follow up with any of our business owners, please email communications@smallbusinessforamericasfuture.org. Have a great day, everyone, and happy Nevada Day.